And if you haven't followed in the chat, there's lots of interesting wildcards. So, schedule. We have a recitation, the last recitation on Monday, possibly the most popular one. This one is going to be on startups. So each of these is a startup that came from Fab Labs. I reached out to get updates on interesting ones, and too many responded, which is a good problem, but it means we'll go through these very quickly. It's going to be rapid fire. These range from 1 person to 1,000 person, and from just starting to running for many years, and it'll fill in that spectrum of 1, 10, 100, 1,000 employees across startups. Come to the recitation and you'll get a sense of the sizes. Then, Hank has a note about the regional FabX event. Today I'm going to talk about projects and final projects. Next class, I'll talk about IP. Both of these assignments are aimed solely at your final project. You'll present, and then we get to Fab 26. For Fab 26, in person, after many years, we're hosting it back at MIT. It's all across MIT at the new Fab Hub for the Fab Foundation, Boston, and the whole region. All kinds of amazing things are coming together for that. If you're graduating for that, your ticket is covered for it. I don't recall the mechanics. At the next class, I'll go over how you register for it with the ticket that we cover. And then Hank put in the chat, if you're not able to come in person to Boston, there's going to be a regional gathering in Bottrop if you're able to get to that. But we'll cover the graduation ticket. Next week, I'll cover that. The final presentations are July 27 to 31. And today I'm going to talk about what goes into it. In the new eval platform, after class today, not during, you don't need to do anything now, but after class, we'll open up signups. And you can sign up. Allison, you need to mute. You can sign up anytime during the week. Diligent people ahead of the curve sign up early. People racing the clock sign up late. One note is generally the earlier sessions have fewer people and we can spend more time per person. When we get to the end and people pile up, there'll be less time per person for those. But that'll open up after class today. In class today, I'm going to talk about what you need to do. And then there's a bug that's a feature, which is I have to travel today. So I have to leave class early at about 11:30. What we're going to do for the last half hour is make this a global open time with all the instructors to help with any question you have about how to prepare for the final project. And I want to flag a particular thing, which is if we go back to documents, student agreements, in the agreement you signed, a key thing you agreed to is honestly reporting on your work and appropriately attributing the work of others. And crucially, that includes AI. So we've seen most of you are doing this responsibly, but we've seen some cases of AI-generated code or CAD without attribution and AI-generated documentation without attribution. It's going to get harder to spot as AI gets better. Right now, AI-generated text is pretty clear, and we hate it because we don't know, if you're just pasting AI text, we don't know what you understand. So you need to show us you understand what's there. You can use AI tools, but it needs to be in your words. You need to interpret it. And crucially, you need to document how you're using AI. You couldn't copy another student's work. You couldn't steal work from a publication. It's the same thing if you present AI work as your work. We're going to reject things you submit that are clearly AI generated without attribution. It's growing in importance. It's normal to use it, but you need to show us what you're using and how you're using it. That's so we can evaluate what you did. It's how somebody else can reproduce your work. And crucially, we want you to understand it, not just simply be a secretary copying AI output. So we're going to be vetting that very carefully. So we're done technical content. Next week's class is going to be about life cycle of how you manage invention. And in particular, I'll talk a lot about intellectual property and types of licenses and pathways to commercialization. This week is a survey. And once upon a time, these were two different classes. We merged them together. This is going to be all about your final projects. So the first one, I'll go in now, is about applications and implications. What can you do with everything you've learned? So the assignment here is to absolutely now finally plan your final project. Your final project is a masterpiece. And the word masterpiece is widely misunderstood. Masterpiece is used to refer to something fabulous, a great work of art, but it has a much older origin. In the guilds, if you were going to become a carpenter, the masterpiece is how you show mastery of the skills of a carpenter. It's not the greatest piece of furniture anybody's ever made. It demonstrates your ability of the skills. Yetzi, Hamida's noting using AI to fix spelling and grammar. Hamida, that's absolutely fine. We want you to attribute it. And then crucially, what we don't want to see is AI generated like bullet lists and tables and sort of, what's called AI slop. Using it to help clean up your writing is absolutely fine with attribution. Good. So for your final project, and here I'll step back. I'm going to talk through what goes into the final project now. In the next part of today's class, I'm going to talk about how you document your project and how you manage it. And then the only assignment remaining next week is a very lightweight one. It's going to be how do you disseminate your project? So I'll leave both of these up. So for your final project, I want you to answer, what will your project do? What's been done beforehand? What are the sources? What are you designing? What are the materials and components? Where do they come from? How much do they cost? What are the processes? What are the questions you need to answer? And then a big one is how to evaluate your project, how to tell if it's good or bad. Your project needs to include 2D and 3D design as skills. This is an important one. We want to see additive and subtractive fabrication. It's not enough just to 3D print a case and mill a PCB, because we want to see your ability to work with multiple kinds of materials. In fact, actually, I'm going to add those words to it. We want to see your ability to work with multiple kinds of materials, design and produce electronics. Embedded microcontroller means you don't buy a circuit board, you put a processor into your board. There's an interface, inputs, outputs, you program it, it's integrated and packaged. Kester, we want to see we want to see both additive and subtractive in the final because we want to see your ability to integrate them. Part of until now, each week has been separate. We want to see your ability to take multiple processes and merge them. So we do want to see additive and subtractive combined in the final. Where you can, make rather than buy. And then this one is somewhat neglected. You can work together on projects as long as they have separable subsystems. And so for a drone, there's the whole propulsion system and there's a navigation system. You can develop and test those separately and then merge them. You can't have somebody do hardware and somebody do software, but you can collaborate on complete systems to make an even larger project. So that's what you need to submit for the final project. In the second part of today's class, I'll talk about how you're going to document it. Now, what I have on this page is a tour of what you can do with the skills. And each of these entries is not the latest and greatest in each of these. Rather, this is a somewhat historical tour through how these have emerged through the years of Fab Labs and Fab Academy. So, and each of these links through. So this is during the pandemic, I ran a working group that coordinated hundreds of people in the end on responding to the pandemic. And this really showed the strength of the Fab Lab network. Many people knew about PPE, which was important, but there are a number of other projects characterizing, testing, analyzing, measuring that were part of the pandemic response. And so there's a ton documented there, filling in between just DIY and volume production. The Fab Lab network had a crucial role for that. Jeff, when Jeff's asking about what I mean by interface, Jeff, when I say here, I'll clarify these assignments. Here, the interface, I mean, actually, both kinds of interfacing, meaning there's hardware interfacing is what I meant there, but we also want human interfacing. We want to see you can get signals in and out, and you can enable a person to interact. I'll add just a little bit to that. Electronics. This is a simple example. This was a Fab Academy instructor. We'll talk about startups, but just the ability to design and program electronics is in demand. And so this is a business he spun off to sell electronics he makes from the class. This is many years old, but still a favorite. This was a student for input devices who made an oscilloscope that can record data like you get from an oscilloscope. So instead of how to make, it's how to measure almost anything. This was a project to make a boombox, a complete consumer electronics. This was years ago. David Mellis, who's one of the Arduino founders, did a first from scratch DIY phone. There's now much more mature ones, but that's make your own phone. Max and David, who founded Formlabs, they made a computer terminal. So instead of a whole computer from scratch, they make a little terminal and connect it to a screen. Bunny, a famous hacker, went further and built a whole open source laptop. And Nadia, who taught the Machine Week, this part of the laptop is named for her as being the flexible, reconfigurable prototyping part of the laptop. In Afghanistan, we collaborated on a project using the lab to make high gain antennas that could make kilometer scale links that made a citywide data network when there was no infrastructure. Then there have been a number of CubeSat projects where with the skills we've covered, you almost know enough. What's missing is making it a little bit more robust. but to build a CubeSat. And there are a number of rocket launches that have room around the main payload to fit these little CubeSats. And so I know Hank has worked on, a few labs have worked on Fab Lab space programs. So you've already seen a lot on how to make your own machines. Alicia, who taught molding and casting, helps show you how to make your own materials. We've seen a lot of robots. This was a particularly nice robot. You'll meet Will during the startup recitation. Sam made the kayak I showed you. They wanted to study robot locomotion. This was all machined on a desktop shopbot, but they made this beautiful leaping robot. I've already talked about inflatables for output devices. This is a link to that. We've seen, here is Sam making the boat that I've shown before. Kenny, this is an example of a bicycle he made for composites. We've had a few Fab Labbers make skis from scratch. Many drones. Danielle Ingracia was one of the first drone builders, making drones with his own navigation for it. This is a project at EAC to make a first version of a Fab car. It's much easier to make cars now with EVs, so going up to cars. Tomas Diaz and EAC helped start this project to do Smart Citizen, to do regional environmental monitoring. This is a project, see if this link is working. So colloquially called Shopbot Tom in Africa, using the Shopbot to make wind turbines. Guillaume from Valdora, Green Fab Lab, helped start Fab Labs making aquaponic systems to make food. This is a link to the sister class Bio Academy for biotechnology, and in particular using Fab Labs to make the tools in biolabs. Instead of manual pipetting or a $100,000 machine, this is an open liquid handler. This is a former student, Manu, and his famous $1 microscope. This is a link to a workshop I ran on open metrology, on open source scientific instruments. This is things like Raman spectrometers and rheometers done as open scientific instrumentation. This is a link to work on open source prosthetics. Here's an interesting Fab project making shoes as molding and casting. Then Knitterate, which has a complex history, but is a version of an open source knitting machine. And the software architect, it now has a local startup in Boston developing that. This is a project I love that came out of the VOG on toy design. And these are so beautiful. I want to really stress these toys, which have an interesting backstory, were made with the tools you now need to know how to use. There's a lot of sad-looking machining with the very same tool, with attention to speeds and feeds. You can make beautiful things like these. So make toys. One of my favorite Fab Labs is at the leading arts retreat in the US, Haystack in Maine, where artists don't use the lab to design, they use it to transfer. So this was making glass that sparkles like the Maine Ocean. This is turning PCB milling into intaglio printing plates. All these integration and art processes. This was beautiful work on musical instruments made out of the VOG Fab Lab. Again, same processes you're using, just attention to material speeds and feeds, making beautiful musical instruments. Ohad, who I think's on the call. Ohad, are you on the call? led this wonderful project to make a makeover of a kid space in Israel where the kids got to design their own furniture. Probably the most ambitious Fab Lab project ever was the solar house that almost killed the Barcelona Fab Lab. It was way too ambitious, but there you see Tomas and Guillaume, and out of their lab, they did a whole solar house project. Here I'm linking Danielle and Gracia now is leading the Open Lab Starter Kit, which is the complete open source Fab Lab. Blair Evans, who was on the call before, I don't know if Blair's on, has led the idea of building a community around the lab, of how the lab interacts with the community around it. He started this in Detroit. Now he's doing it in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, of using the lab as a hub for transforming the region. Tomas and Iak helped lead the Fab City initiative. This is a map on trials around the Fab Lab in Barcelona. And then finally, this last link is a paper I wrote with my brothers Joel and Alan with the Sloan, the business school at MIT, on the business impacts of how economies change with self-sufficient production. So all of that is just kind of a high-speed historical tour, but it gives you a feeling from a little circuit board up to an economy of impacts of the skills we've now covered. So then from there, now I'm going to drill in. For your final project, these are rapid fire. We have only a few minutes a person. And so if we go back to prior years, 2025, there's a presentation link. In the presentation link, if we go to the thumbnails, for each student, there's
a tactile labyrinth is a path that you can.
There's a slide and then a link to a video. And so during the final presentations, I'll check your slide and then we'll play your video. The slide should be, we make them a standard size 1920 by 1080. The video is MP4. And actually, I'm going to add a note. It should use the H.264 codec, not H.265, that all browsers can't play. In HTML5, it should be about a minute long, and at reasonable compression, that's less than about 25 megabits. You need to put presentation.png and presentation.mp4 in your root directory. And then you need to check that they get linked. We run a script that finds your slides and puts them on the site. This is very important for this assignment. You need to make a draft of those. It can be a slide that just says your name. It can be a 10-second video that just says your name. But it has to, let's see. It has to describe you and your project, and right away you need to get them in place so they get linked. Then you need to improve it. We won't, during the final presentations, have time to screen share if it's not working, and we won't have time to stop and have you say, well, I couldn't upload and I'm trying to upload. Right away, you need to get all of your material linked. And then in the coming weeks, you need to refine it. Okay. Chris is putting, I have linked here. This is my cheat sheet of what I use for encoding the videos. In our very first class, I talked about project management. Now I'm going to talk about it again. So you might have heard of Murphy's Law, which is everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's widely misunderstood. it doesn't mean, well, something failed and that's Murphy's Law. Yeah, the slide in the video goes in the root of your directory. Murphy was a engineer at a rocket test base. And the point of Murphy's Law was anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Therefore, you need to anticipate what can go wrong and make sure it doesn't go wrong. Murphy's Law is a challenge to figure out what can fail, not an excuse for what did fail. There's an 80-20 principle, and I would call it a 95-5 principle. That principle is 80% of the work takes 20% of the time, and 20% of the work takes 80% of the time. So when you build a house, it's great. It goes up really quickly. And then like the plumbing and the electrical services take forever. When you do your final project, and you make a robot, it'll come together really quickly. You have motors moving, you built the body of the robot, and then putting everything in the box, connecting it up, and debugging ends up taking all of the time. So you need to be prepared for what you think is going to be hard, quite likely could be easy, and what you're not preparing for could take all of your time. So the little tricky things are going to swamp you at the end, and it breaks our heart when you almost are done. We don't want to see how to almost make almost anything. So that leads to triage. So if an airplane crashes and the first responders come, people who are so injured they're not going to survive, it's sad, but you can't do anything. People are up and walking away, maybe bleeding, but they don't need you. You need to find the people where intervention matters. So that means you're going to have to do triage. You're going to have to kill off features that won't survive. Don't worry about things that are easy and prioritize the things you can save. Over and over today, I said document during development. You will run out of time. The only way to do this is each work session, each day, add some documentation. So when you're done, all you have to do is the last little bit. You can't do the work and then document. Over and over, I've said demand versus supply side. Demand is you do a task and then a task and a task and you run out of time. Supply side is you make a schedule for your remaining time and you fit the task to the time. And you have to define the task to fit the available time. And you can really learn to work back from time, not forward from schedule. Spiral development is don't start at the beginning and test the project at the end. Build and test a small version of your project, add a feature, add another feature. So we had the little instructional robot. The first version might not move, but you can talk to it. The second would move, but it has no body. The third one has the body, but it's not yet configurable. But keep coming back to testable systems. Don't try to test it all at the end. Serial versus parallel tasks is if you do task, 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 one task failing can block all the others. So you need to keep all of your tasks running in parallel. System integration we've stressed, which is we don't want to just see some circuit boards thrown in a box. We need to see the design of a system and how all the parts come together. And I encourage your instructors to do the drop test and the shake test to make sure you really put it together. And a final thing is the finished quality. I'll show you more examples. The very same tools used by two different people can come out gorgeous and come out sad looking. And it's not the knowledge, it's not the tool, it's the care, it's the attention to speeds, feeds, settings. And so we'll really be interested in maintaining the finished quality. So just to tour some examples to inspire and challenge you. let's see, okay, yeah, let me do this one. So Camilla, so the smallest Fab Academy project was at maybe 1 inch. The biggest was, 5 feet. Camilla did one of the best integrated projects ever. So I'm going to play it and tell me if the audio is working.
What if a book could teach you electronics but with circuits you can actually interact with? Circuit Lab is an interactive book I designed to help kids and anyone curious to explore electronics in a hands and playful way. Each page shows you different concepts and how they're all connected, touching, testing, and playing. The goal? To make electronics more accessible, more joyful. I'm Camila Luna, co-founder of Moonmakers and a Fab Academy student of 2025 at Fab Lab. I have always believed that learning should feel like discovery, and that's exactly what this book is all about. Once connect the page to the main board or circuit body, the book comes alive, and there's more. I create an app that connects to the board by Bluetooth.
Hi, welcome to Circuit Lab.
It lets you control circuits remotely and read sensor data, and even unlock augmented reality experience. Circuit Lab is just getting started, and I see it growing into a STEAM kit, a classroom tool to bring touch closer to more kids. Made at Fab Academy 2025.
So all projects don't need to reach that level. That was maybe the best integrated project ever. But you can see the superb time management to do all of that. You can see the attention to detail of the beautiful finish. Nothing here says DIY project. It was just this beautiful thing she made. This was a fabulous project in the MIT class. So what you see is a video game console, which is interesting. What's in a second, I'll show you how it was made. What's shocking is, well, actually, I think he has a, right, let's see. So he made, separate from the final presentation, he just made a video on how to make it. So testing the parts, make something big, making the frame. Painting it, designing the circuit boards, mounting the components. Let's see, that's Widlerizing. He's destroying stuff that didn't work. Integrating, routing, laminating, painting. And then what I love about this project is it makes very challenging music. It's a musical instrument. It's microtonal music that doesn't follow normal tuning scales. And in ways I don't understand, you perform microtonal music by playing the video game. So I'll leave it up to you if you do or don't like microtonal music. But if you start going through his page, you can see, let's see here. Sorry to zap through you. It's a working notebook where here's the beginning, just laser cutting. Then we're getting to make something big and he's doing it full size. He's starting to design the electronics. You see how the page is a log following his work, integrating it, testing it, leaving time to program it. And in the end, this video game console was final project. So yeah, each year I do, I didn't used to do this, but now I make a page of highlights from the class that you can browse through. And then, let's see, this one, I know there was a new, okay, yeah, good. The video got updated. This I think is the lightest weight final project. So just this exquisite, delicate, sort of swimming, flying thing. I just adore how this moves. Okay, so that's that one. Let's see. This was a good one just for finish. This is somebody who loved cars. And so we wanted to make a thing to where he could design, display cars. And what I want you to see is how much work he did on the surface finish to make these beautiful cars. So designing cars, producing them, and then doing this gorgeous finishing of them. Let's see. This I think I showed before. This this was a fun one. This was a dollhouse that used every week of the class in an attribute of the dollhouse. There was a swimming pool and a garage door, and every process was used to make that. Let's see, this one, I love this one. This was somebody who works in theater, and it's a fountain of despair, part of a theatrical context. And yeah, this was the only fountain of despair we've had in the class. But again, it reaches this threshold of magic. It's not trivially, you see how it's made. It's this just beautiful fountain of despair. This one I really like. It's a smart lamp. But what was particularly notable about the smart lamp is she didn't just do the lamp that's responsive, but she did the packaging of the lamp. So she made this beautiful packaging. So how you distribute the final project, not just the final project. That was particularly noticeable. Let's see. This Miriam made this beautiful expressive helmet that I believe is still in use. This was a classic project. This was, let's see, this was, I guess the video, I'm not finding the video. This was, okay, here. Okay, so this solves the problem of your cereal getting soggy. And again, to system integration, he's showing how the parts come together. He made his own peristaltic pump. You can see how it's nicely packaged as a system. And then it does a just-in-time delivery of your milk to your spoon. So solving a very important. Let's see. This was a project that did used Bitcoin mining to do sous vide cooking. Oh yeah, this was a nice one from Barcelona. This one was a weather station that was magnetically levitated. And so it's just magically floating, telling you the weather. This one was one of the biggest projects ever. So rather than hamsters having all the fun, it's like a hamster wheel that's a person size. Get up to. So a human-sized hamster wheel is one of the bigger project. This one, I want to show it just because she was a really interesting Lego
Sensitive
designer.
Dog is an interactive sculpture. Just like a real dog, it reacts to human touch. Motion is a source of information of design.
Jump
The
ahead.
body of the dog split in
It's
two
not that
parts.
complex,
The sensor
but it's
part
this-
and the part and reprogram. That
The
sensor
sensor dog you
motor
can pet and wag its tail.
increases when you stroke the dog, it wags its tail. Just like a real dog.
Let's see. Yeah, we're coming up to the end of what I can do for time. Let's see. This was a neat one. This was a whole bunch of modules to make a modular musical synthesizer. Okay, yeah. This one I wanted to find. This one, the whole final project was about 1 inch big. So this one was to make smart dice. And so the whole project fits in that little tiny volume. And that's a great final project. It shows everything we're looking for. Oh, right. This one was, I mentioned the alarm clock that works by pulling the sheets off of you to wake it up. And then in the very first class, I played.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and this is
Remember,
my
I played
screen
this
lab.
video to save up screens.
On the outside, there are two conductives.
Here, oops, sorry. I'll go back. I'll stop here for time. Savera was reminding me of this one. Paula, one of the things I like most in final projects is magic, sort of no visible means. And so this was maybe the most magical. It's just a sphere that rolls by itself. So it's based on having a asymmetrical weight, and then all that's integrated in the sphere. And you get this just steerable, magical, autonomous sphere. Although it's not so good at climbing up steps. So I show you these to inspire you and challenge you and to set a threshold. These are you. These aren't special people. These were just Fab Academy students. They used time well, and they integrated skills well, and this is what they were able to accomplish. So what's going to happen now is for next week, you need to have your final project site underway, and you need to have slides and videos underway. Next week, we'll go over the linking on the final presentation site. After class, you can sign up for it. And then again, come back for the startup recitation. Next week, I'll talk about commercialization, but now it's all the push for the final project. You can do what you saw here if you use time well. This isn't officially a time and project management class, but that's one of the core skills we're stressing throughout. So with that, I have to go on a trip now, and I'm going to drop, but I'm going to leave you in the hands of the capable team to talk through the mechanics of posting your slides and videos and global open time for the next half hour to help with getting ready for the final projects. So hopefully you're intimidated and inspired and challenged. So I'll see you for startup recitation and then the IP class, and I'll leave you in the capable hands of the instructor team. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Bye-bye.
I think we are the instructors team now.
No se te oye, ¿no? Sí, se te oye en el marcador.
なんか早い気がしたんだけど。
Yeah, a little bit. If anyone wants to share something and it has some question, maybe you can post in the chat or you can answer anything, any doubts. If you want more examples of incredible projects that has been made through the cycles to inspire you or maybe to scare you where you need to get or how incredible things have been made in the past.
So Helen has hand up.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello. So what would you say would be the best method of getting extra help at this point? Would it be like a general post in Mattermost about questions that you have to get help with like specific things, or what would be the best way for those of us who are virtual students that don't have like a local instructor?
Yeah, you have the Mattermost chat. Anyone, anything you want to ask there, I'm sure there are a lot of people that can help you. If it's not your local instructors, maybe anyone can help. But you need to post exact questions. Don't throw like an open question because it will be like very difficult for us to answer. But if you have any question, remember you have the search bar in the Fab Academy page where you can search for anything, maybe technical or maybe processes or whatever you need. It's in the chat. Adrian is sharing with you this.
Yeah.
Hi, that
It's here. Okay. You can share whatever you need. Okay. And you can find other students. For example, a stepper motor. Okay. Sorry. Well, stepper motor, you can find more people. Okay. Who did and documented these steps. Okay.
That's the first step because anyone in the past will affront the same things you are affronting right now. So it's more easy for people to see the documentation of last years and see what's happening there with this thing. If not, you have Google, AI, wherever. And finally, you have a plenty of instructors there to ask something very, very precisely, please.
Yeah, I read in the chat from Christian. Any ideas of the slides and the video? If you look here, okay, all the samples that Niels shows during the class, always you can find, for example, from the last year, we have Koharu and Koharu. This is the video, okay? And the idea is to show always the first part in the what is the project do, okay? Because you need to show your project working, okay? And then you can make little videos or little photos about the process of your final project, okay? Because every people know what is a 3D printer and making the printers, okay? This is another example okay, from David. This is the slide. And in the slide, please always put the name of your final project, okay, the logo of your lab, and explain the name of, or explain the different parts of your final project, okay, and your name. Better is bigger, is better, okay, and you can put photos and on squares or circles about explaining the final project, okay. For me, one of the projects I love it is, I think Hank can help you, is 2021 from the back. Here, students, this is Doug, okay, and I love his final project. It's funny, okay, and always he lose the ferry, okay, and I think maybe it's working. Presentation.
Slowly working.
Yeah, presentation.
So click play.
And before, yeah, it's working. Come on. Yeah. Okay. Dog always have a problem, okay? And the problem was he missed always the ferry, okay? And in the ferry departs, and Dog didn't come to Amsterdam, okay? And now he explaining, if you see, is 1 minute of the video, okay? In the first part, he explained the problem, and then he explained the process to solve this problem, okay? Then the milling, inter problems, yes, soldering, okay? Testing. Programming, system integration, remember. And then we don't know if Dove comes to the ferry yet. He comes to the ferry and arrive as soon that the ferry depart, okay? This is one of the examples, okay? There are too many examples, okay?
Yeah, remember for this week, you don't need to make the video. You need to make a placeholder. This is some video you made, even it's not finished, not related, or just to know how to upload your final video in the moment you need it. If you find a placeholder, you make a video, you codec in the right size, because if not, we will not see it. Remember it? And then upload to the right place in your repo, okay? That's the most important part for the video for this week. Because the video, you will make it when you have your final project done. And this should be before making the video. It's important. If not, you will have a lot of trouble. So maybe you think you have a lot of time to make your video, but I assure you, make a good video like you see from Camila. It's an incredible video. Gives you a lot of work to make a good video. So
Inside of the computer I designed, remember here at the bottom, you have the codecs, okay? Here you have the first page, okay? And here is the formats and the encoding, okay? If you click here in encoding, you have to encode your video, okay? Remember, you can use this. This is the better idea, okay? And here you have the codecs, okay? The H.26.4, okay? Or the H.26.5, okay? And yeah, as Nuria says, please use presentation.mp4 and presentation.png, okay? Here you can see this is what you need to put, okay?
So after that, we have the slide. The slide is like a summary of what your final project has and what's the objective and what's the purpose, and maybe a final shot of your final product, right? Because this give us like a nice scope of what you are working. Remember, you have 1 minute to present your project. That's few time for you to explain a bigger project. If you try to make like like a slide that has everything inside, it's more easy for us to put the mind in your project and try to understand what it's doing, how it was made, or whatever. So it's nice to have this information in the slide. And also, when you make this placeholder for this week, it's good for you to start and make, like, put your name, put a photo, and here at this part I will put all the processes. In this part I will put all the electronics and all these things, and upload to your repo to the presentation.png, and remember to make in the resolution that marks over there in the assignment.
Questions, comments?
And also, more important for me, especially this week, is the question you have in the assignment. In application and implications, at the bottom, you have a lot of questions. And it seems like a silly question for you right now. Okay. The first one is, what will I do? Okay, I will do my final project. No, it's not the way you answer this thing. It's like, okay, what my project will do, what's the objective, what the project propose. And that will give you more information about the project that you don't even think about. Who's done that beforehand? That's the research you have made. And that's a lot of information that you give to other students, to other instructors, to, okay, reach around about this thing. What sources will you use? What will you design? Everything is like, okay, you can answer this thing in one phrase, but try to give, having like a scope of your project through these questions. This will help you a lot to manage the final speech of your final project, because everybody will want to know what will your project do, what have you investigated before, what have you done, what have you buy, whatever. All these things you have in this question. I think it's important to make like a scope of your final project.
Yeah, for me, the most complicated is the last. How will be evaluated, okay? The evaluation is not your local, not your global, it's you, okay? You have a idea, okay, to make your final project here, but finally, if you see during the class, Neil explains the triage, okay? And you have a lot of problems, okay? And for this reason, you need to say, okay, I continue with this robot with 2 arms and 2 foots, or I don't know, I need to move this robot only the head, okay? For this reason, you need to manage very well the time. Remember, we have only 2 weeks, okay? We have this week, okay? Then you have another week, and then 1 week is to present, okay? And in this week, you need to present to Neil, to all the people, show your final project, explain your final project in 1 minute, and please work in your final project, okay? For this reason, you need to think in this, okay? Triage, document during the process, okay? Please take photos and videos because you need it, okay? Because at the end, you need to make the video, okay? And if you have more videos and more photos, you can make the best video, okay? Talk with your local instructor or your colleagues during the final project. Take photos, both working, because it's important to show you are working, okay? And always, always, always work in spiral development, okay? If your final project wants to communicate, for example, with SPNow, and you have problems, okay, go down and change your spiral development, okay? As Rico says, and if you don't remember, during the bootcamp, in the students bootcamp in this year, 26, okay, there is an amazing tips from Rico, okay, about time management. I'm going to show because I think Rico is sleeping now in Bhutan. Okay. And in the time management, here, I think so. It's in another place. Oh my goodness. The slides. No. Oh my goodness. In front of the year. maybe in 2025.
There
Yeah.
you go.
2025, slides from Rico. Yes, okay. Rico was talking about the time management, okay? This is important because you have different tasks, okay? But you need to think, okay, I have to sleep, to eat, to stay with my family, to talk with other people, or to work. But you need to complete your final project, okay? And you don't have 24 hours to complete your final project every day, okay? For this reason, you need to use very well the time. Here, always Rico explains the spinal development, and the same example is as the robot, okay? You have a robot, head, the body, okay? You have the body and the head, and then you have a screen, okay? But then you have a rockets, okay? This is the spiral development, okay? For this reason, you need to work little by little and complete the different spirals, okay? And always document, okay? And there is another thing. No, this is the documentation, blah, 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 blah. I miss one, but yeah. I don't know, Pablo, if you want to say something else about this. But yeah.
You can ask if you want anything. I suggest you to go to the assessment book.
Yeah.
If you have any question about this is enough, I think it's a bad question, but you have the answers there.
Yeah.
In the Fab, in the assessment book for this week, you have everything you need to accomplish for this assignment. Remember, you need to make also the bill of materials, what you need to have, because you in one of the question is how much will it cost your project, and this is not only the cost of money of things you buy, it's also about the cost of time, how many time it takes to replicate your project. That's very important thing you need to reflect.
Yeah, 100 euros or dollars for the bill of materials. Okay, the budget. You don't have 1,000. Remember, 100 or dollars or euros per student. Okay, and remember, of the bill of materials, if you are working, for example, with microcontrollers or CIAOs or MOSFET, if you are going to buy it, okay, buy one more, okay? If you need, for example, two, okay, and you are working, please buy, for example, four and testing, because sometimes you die your little microcontrollers or your MOSFET, okay? For this reason, it's important to have.
That's Murphy's law.
Yes.
Murphy's law say that if you have room for anything that will happen so badly, it will happen. So try to minimize the risk and try to have everything double check and all these things.
And another thing, that the time using the machines, because, for example, if you are you are 5 students in the lab and going to print all of you need to have slots for printing, okay? And for this reason, it's important to schedule and use the time very well, okay?
We can continue talking if you want to ask anything until the future. But I want to say something. You are making a final project not just to accomplish the requirements, okay? The final project is the way you show your master in the things you have learned in this week, in this cycle. So try to make it as better as you can and try to show your mastery in everything you do. There's no need to have everything you already made, like, I don't know, thermoforming or something. Not all the techniques must be in the final project, but your final project needs to show your mastery in making some projects, right? I don't know if it's...
Yeah, Dorian, about the bill of materials, we say, for example, if I want to replicate, okay, your final project, I'm going to, for example, my final project. One of the things I recommend to all of you, okay, if you remember, a couple of weeks or months ago, okay, you have a final project proposal. You make a schedule and a draft of your final project proposal, okay? But then you need to document, for example, the final project development, okay? All the steps you did around all these kind of months, okay? And here, for example, I tested in week 1, the sketch, in week 2, the design, in week 5, the 3D printing, okay?
Yeah,
Then I have,
sorry to interrupt. There's a good question in the chat.
yep. I'm going to explain this and I continue with answer the question.
Be patient, Yanni.
Okay, Yanni? And at the end, okay, you need to have another page, okay? We recommend to have another page. In this page, you have the slide, you have the video, okay? And then you have the answers, as Neil explains during the class, okay? And here you have the bill of materials. Dorian, if you have here the bill of materials, I can vouch, okay? And I can make your own final project, okay? For this reason, you have all the documentation here, okay? And at the end, okay, it's important to have the files, okay? If I want to replicate your final project, you need to have the files here, okay? In this page, okay? If you need something, you can write here and go to the project development, okay? Yeah, the question, Yanni, was?
No, the question was Dorian, saying
Dorian.
that if you need to put all the money you have spent during all these weeks, is no. The bomb is to replicate your final project. And you are developing a final project. And when you are presented the final project, we imagine that it's final project. So the bomb should reflect what I need to buy and what I need to do, what I need to replicate to do this project you have made. So the one you broke or lost or whatever, there's no need to take it on account.
Questions, comments?
Nuria, you want to say something?
Also, Sahen has a very good comment saying that iteration is part of the prototyping, so you can share both your final BOM and the prototype costing. So that's actually something we want to see. That's why the bill of materials is twice. We want to see how you think the bill of material is, and then we want to see the final bill of materials.
Yeah.
At this point, you can document everything you need, anything you want. So the more information, the better for you, because this will be like your portfolio for the future. So if you have more bombs or more information about what has broke or what you try or not, it's good to have them in your documentation. There are many people that keep on documenting after his year after year, and it's growing the documentation part, and it's a good thing to have in mind when you make this thing.
Yeah, Nuria put in the chat about the different parts of the final project web page. Okay, the final project proposal. Remember, you think in the first week your sketch. Okay, now is the time to make this sketch into reality. Okay, sometimes it works, or sometimes you change your final project. But please now don't change your final project. Don't change your final project. Okay,
and don't need to be like Adrian. Your sketch is exactly the same of the final project. That's super good. Okay. Any questions? Any doubts about this week? Remember, we are still in the week of application and implication and project development.
Yeah, you have two parts. Remember, the assignment of this week is to answer these questions. Okay, you need to answer. Sometimes you answer this question, but then you finish your final project and change your answer. Okay, for this reason, you need to update your final project. Okay, thinking your final project should be incorporated 2D and 3D process. Okay, design, additive and subtractive fabrication processes, electronics design and production. You need to make a microcontroller, and you need embedded an input and an output devices, okay? And with system integration, please, with packaging, okay? For this reason, you have an assignment with this. Where possible, you should make them rather than buy, okay? Camille, yeah, you put in this week, you have an assignment, okay? But in the final project, you need to put these questions too, okay? Then you have the parts of your final project, okay? And then you have another assignment is to make a test, okay? A test of your slide and a test of your video, okay? You don't need to make now your final video, okay? Or your final slide, but it's a test to understand what is the root directory and to compress the video and upload the slide, okay?
You can test your video in your own browser and try to use different browsers to check if the video is coding okay, right? If not, you will upload and think that everybody can see it, but finally we don't see it because the coding is wrong or something.
The codec H.
Yeah,
codec
codec
H264.
Yeah, the codec, remember, go here to computer eye design. You have in this part encoding, okay? And here you have, this is the codecs, okay? And here is for the entire page, okay?
Or any other program.
Yeah.
And also regarding the requirements for the final project, please avoid to make simple laser cut boxes or simple 3D printer boxes because we want to see many of the skills that you have acquired during the course. So please be as more complete as you can and make beautiful things.
Yeah.
In some videos you see in the past, the project is not really incredible technical, but it's nice to see it and makes the things that the people wants to make. So I think it's more important to show your mastery or maybe show a nice project, finishing project, maybe not do-it-yourself project than having a super complicated final project. This will give you like the spiral thing and all these things we have been talking through these weeks. But now we are in the fire of the final weeks to accomplish.
As Neil says, is something that you don't think that it's doable in a Fab Lab because it's beautifully finished or thought about that, and also that it will continue working after the presentation. That is the sake test.
Okay, if someone has questions, now is the time. If not, remember we have in the Saturday the Global Open Time, okay, at 10 a.m. Boston time. We have the Mattermost channel, and in the next Monday we have the amazing presentation of startups. Okay, we recommend you to see. Remember, document as you go. Focus in your final projects. We ask a lot. And enjoy. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Adiós.
Bye.
Luego,
Bye bye.
gracias, adiós.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Adiós.
Bye.